My name is Arthur, and the Smoky Mountains are in my blood. My family's history here stretches back generations. Farmers, moonshiners, and yes, park rangers. I've spent my entire life among these ancient trees, learning their secrets, their rhythms, their whispers. I know every trail, every hidden hollow, every place where the sunlight hesitates to touch the earth. This intimate knowledge, this deep connection to the land, is what made the events of that night so utterly terrifying, so profoundly unsettling. It started with a routine call, a missing person report. Ilera Vance, a renowned botanist, had vanished from her research site near Mount Laconie. Ilera was a respected figure in our small mountain community, known for her quiet demeanor and profound respect for the natural world. She was the opposite of the reckless thrill seekers who sometimes ventured into these woods. Her disappearance felt wrong. The trail to Mount Laconie is a grueling climb, even in fair weather. That night, a storm raged, turning the trail into a treacherous, muddy obstacle course. My old truck, a faithful companion for years, struggled through the mud and rain, its engine groaning in protest. I arrived at Ilera's last known location, only to find her camp deserted, her equipment scattered, and a chilling sense of unease permeating the air. I began the search, my flashlight beam cutting through the driving rain and dense fog. The storm raged around me, but it was the silence between the thunderclaps that chilled me to the bone. It was a silence pregnant with dread, a silence that seemed to hum with an unseen menace. The forest, usually a familiar and comforting presence, now felt alien, menacing. I found her notebook, pages ripped and scattered, its contents smudged with mud and rain, and something else, something dark and viscous that clung to the pages like a stain on the soul. A sense of intense dread washed over me. This wasn't a simple accident. It was something far more sinister. The trail itself seemed to twist and turn, as if deliberately trying to mislead me, the familiar path becoming a labyrinth of shadows and fear. My gut screamed that something was gravely wrong. The Great Smoky Mountains hold a unique blend of beauty and darkness. Generations of mountain people have whispered tales of shadowy creatures, vengeful spirits, and hidden dangers lurking within its depths. These weren't mere superstitions. They were warnings, passed down through generations, cautionary tales etched into the very fabric of the mountain culture. Standing there, amidst the storm, those stories felt chillingly real. Ilera Vance, the missing botanist, represented a different kind of connection to the mountains. While I knew the trails and the woods intimately, Ilera understood the delicate balance of the ecosystem, the interconnectedness of life within these ancient forests. She possessed a quiet strength, a deep respect for the land that resonated with a certain power of its own. Her respect for nature was almost spiritual. This respect made her disappearance even more disturbing. The storm itself became a character, a relentless force of nature that seemed to mirror the growing unease within me. The wind howled like a tormented spirit. The rain lashed down like a vengeful god, and the darkness of the forest pressed in, enveloping me in a shroud of fear. The sounds of the mountain, usually comforting, now felt sinister and menacing. The very air seemed to vibrate with an unseen energy. Sheriff Brody, a gruff but fair man, joined the search. He'd been a friend and ally for many years, and our shared history in the mountains forged a bond of mutual respect. He wasn't superstitious, but even he admitted to sensing a dark energy in the air, an unsettling presence that lingered in the shadows of the ancient trees. This wasn't just a missing person case, he said. This was different. As we pressed deeper into the forest, I discovered clues that only someone with an intimate knowledge of these mountains would have been able to leave behind, intentionally or not. Ilera's careful, deliberate actions implied a deeper level of threat than just an isolated event. This was more than simple wilderness survival. This had the makings of an elaborate scheme. The clues suggested that Ilera had anticipated her own capture. The storm showed no signs of abating. The wind howled, tearing at the trees, and the rain beat down relentlessly, obscuring the already dim trails. Visibility was near zero. and the treacherous terrain became even more hazardous. Sheriff Brody and I, despite our years of experience in these mountains, felt the growing pressure of the unseen force that seemed to permeate the very air around us. We found more of Alara's belongings: a broken trowel, a torn piece of her jacket, and more of that viscous, dark substance. It wasn't mud. It wasn't blood. It was something else entirely, something ancient and unsettling. Its presence seemed to amplify the sense of dread that clung to the forest like a shroud. The further we ventured, the more evident it became that Alara hadn't simply wandered off. She had been hunted. The disturbed undergrowth, the broken branches, the deliberate placement of her belongings, all pointed to a calculated, methodical pursuit. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was a targeted attack. Brody, a man of logic and reason, began to consider the local legends, the whispers of ancient evils that had haunted these mountains for centuries. He'd always dismissed them as folklore, but the evidence before him was impossible to ignore. The dark substance, the calculated nature of the attack, the overwhelming sense of dread, all pointed towards something beyond human comprehension. We found a clearing, a small patch of relatively dry ground amidst the deluge. In the center stood a massive ancient oak, its branches twisted and gnarled like skeletal fingers reaching for the heavens. The tree itself seemed to exude an aura of malevolence, a palpable sense of something ancient and malevolent lurking within its shadows. The air around the tree was cold, heavy, almost suffocating. Suddenly, we heard it, a low growl, deep and guttural, emanating from the heart of the ancient oak. The ground trembled, and the trees around us seemed to sway, as if bowing before some unseen power. The storm intensified, the wind screaming, the rain lashing down with renewed ferocity. We knew we were not alone. The growl from the ancient oak was followed by a chilling silence, a silence more terrifying than the storm's fury. Sheriff Brody, a man of considerable courage, visibly paled. He drew his service revolver, but his hand trembled slightly. Even his confidence seemed to waver in the face of the unseen power emanating from the ancient tree. The silence pressed down on us, heavy and suffocating, a palpable sense of dread that threatened to overwhelm us. We learned through radio contact that Alara Vance wasn't just any botanist. She was researching a rare and potentially dangerous plant rumored to possess potent hallucinogenic properties, a plant with deep ties to local folklore, a plant said to possess a dark power. Her research had attracted the attention of unscrupulous individuals, and not just human ones. This was more than a missing person case. This was a conspiracy that reached far beyond the boundaries of the national park. The dark substance we found was likely connected to this plant. A secondary subplot emerged as we discovered that several other botanists had disappeared in the past year, all in areas near ancient landmarks within the park. These disappearances had been dismissed as accidents or hiker mishaps, but looking back, the pattern was undeniable. This suggested a larger pattern at work, a deliberate, sinister plot orchestrated by someone with a deep understanding of the park's hidden corners and the local legends surrounding its ancient power. Time was becoming a critical factor. The storm showed no sign of letting up, and the possibility of losing contact with the outside world grew with every passing hour. Our radio transmissions were becoming increasingly erratic, the signal weakening with each attempt. The feeling of isolation intensified, a gnawing sense of being completely cut off from the rest of the world, left at the mercy of whatever lurked in the shadows of the ancient forest. The growls from the oak became more frequent, more menacing, punctuated by a series of unsettling snaps and cracks that emanated from the heart of the tree. It was as if the tree itself was coming alive, its ancient wood groaning under the strain of some unseen force. The whispers of the wind seemed to carry dark, unintelligible mutterings, like a chorus of disembodied voices echoing from the depths of the forest. We had to find Alara soon, or we might become another victim of this terrifying conspiracy. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows of the ancient oak. It wasn't Alara. It was a man cloaked and hooded, his face obscured by shadow. He carried a strange staff, intricately carved with symbols that resonated with a chilling familiarity. symbols similar to those found in Alara's scattered notebook and the markings on the rare plant she was researching. He moved with an unnatural grace, his movements fluid and unsettling, as if he were a part of the forest itself. The man raised a staff, and a surge of dark energy erupted from the ancient oak, engulfing the clearing in an oppressive aura of malice. The storm intensified, the wind howling like a tormented beast, the rain lashing down with renewed fury. The ground trembled beneath our feet, and the trees around us seemed to writhe in agony. Sheriff Brody and I instinctively backed away, our weapons useless against the sheer power emanating from the man and the ancient tree. Then Alara appeared, but she wasn't herself. Her eyes were vacant, her movements jerky and unnatural, her skin pallid and cold. She approached the hooded man, her steps slow and deliberate, as if she were a puppet controlled by an unseen hand. The man spoke, his voice a low, guttural whisper that seemed to emanate from the depths of the forest itself. His words were in an unknown tongue, but the sense of malevolent intent was unmistakable. Alara, seemingly under the man's control, uttered a chilling word, a word that seemed to unlock a terrifying power within the ancient oak. The tree began to shake violently, its branches thrashing like enraged serpents. Roots erupted from the earth, twisting and turning like grasping claws. The air crackled with energy, and a palpable sense of dread filled the clearing. This was no ordinary confrontation. This was a ritual, a dark ceremony designed to unleash an ancient evil, an evil linked to the rare plant and the strange symbols. Alara, unknowingly or not, was a key component in this horrifying ritual. The hooded man was a conduit, the oak was the source, and the plant was the catalyst. This was the turning point. The realization that Alara wasn't simply missing. She was a victim of a dark conspiracy, and the terrifying realization of the true scale of the evil they were facing. The hooded man wasn't the primary threat. He was a pawn in a much larger game, a game of ancient power and unimaginable horror. Sheriff Brody and I were forced to confront the terrifying truth. A malevolent force far older than the mountains themselves had been awakened, and it was using Alara as a vessel. The transformation was complete. Alara lunged at us, her eyes burning with an unholy light, her movements swift and deadly, far beyond her normal physical capabilities. The choice was clear: stop the ritual, or both Brody and I become victims. The ensuing struggle was brutal and desperate. Alara, possessed by the ancient evil, fought with a strength and ferocity far beyond her normal capabilities. Sheriff Brody and I, despite our years of experience and training, were severely outmatched. Her movements were swift, precise, and unnatural, as if she were guided by an unseen force. Brody, ever the pragmatist, focused on protecting me, allowing Alara to focus her attacks primarily on him. His protective instincts were a testament to our long-standing friendship and mutual respect. However, even his strength began to fail. Despite my training, I felt a growing sense of helplessness as I watched Brody fall repeatedly to Alara's relentless assault. His initial confidence gave way to grim determination, and his efforts to protect me bordered on desperation. The hooded man, meanwhile, stood observing the struggle, his face obscured by shadow, a chillingly calm observer of the chaos he had unleashed. The fight was a desperate, brutal ballet of claw and fist, a testament to the ancient power that had overtaken Alara. My efforts to subdue her were futile. She was faster, stronger, more resilient. My attempts to subdue her only fueled her frenzy. Her eyes never wavered. They burned with a cold, otherworldly fire. In a moment of desperate clarity, I realized we couldn't defeat Alara directly. The ancient evil possessing her was too powerful. Our only chance was to stop the ritual itself, to sever the connection between Alara, the hooded man, and the ancient oak. The consequences of failing were too horrific to contemplate. Brody, badly injured, managed to dislodge a large branch from one of the thrashing trees, and with a desperate lunge, he used it to sever the connection between the staff and the hooded figure. The hooded figure let out a strangled cry as he was disconnected, the staff falling to the ground, and the surge of dark energy receded. Ilara collapsed, unconscious but unharmed, her body still trembling from the residual effects of the ancient evil. The storm abruptly stopped, and the forest fell silent. The ancient oak, its power drained, stood still, its branches drooping in exhaustion. The immediate threat was over, but the long-term consequences remained uncertain. The hooded figure escaped into the darkness, leaving behind a trail of ominous shadows. The aftermath of the struggle left me shaken and exhausted. Sheriff Brody, despite his injuries, remained conscious, his eyes fixed on Ilara's unconscious form. The storm had ceased as abruptly as it began, leaving behind an eerie stillness, a silence broken only by the rhythmic drip of rain from the leaves. The ancient oak stood sentinel, its power depleted, its menacing aura gone. The forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, as if releasing a burden it had carried for centuries. My immediate concern was Ilara. She had been used, manipulated, and nearly destroyed by an ancient evil. Her body bore no physical wounds, but the ordeal had undoubtedly taken its toll. As the initial shock wore off, the weight of what we had faced settled upon me. This wasn't just a case of a missing person. It was a glimpse into the terrifying darkness that lay hidden beneath the surface of the seemingly peaceful Smoky Mountains. The experience had shaken my deeply ingrained understanding of the world. The local legends, once dismissed as folklore, now held a chilling reality. The ancient power we had encountered was real, potent, and terrifying. It was a force that lay dormant beneath the surface of the seemingly benign landscape, waiting to be awakened by human ambition and ignorance. As we waited for backup to arrive, Brody and I pieced together the events of the night. The hooded man was likely a pawn in a larger conspiracy. The rare plant Ilara was researching was clearly a key component in the ritual. And the ancient oak, a nexus of immense power, had served as a conduit for the dark energy that had overtaken Ilara. The ensuing investigation brought more terrifying revelations. The conspiracy stretched beyond the park, involving powerful individuals with their own vested interests. Ilara's research had inadvertently opened a gateway to a darkness that threatened not just the Smoky Mountains, but the world beyond. The plant's power was far greater than anyone had imagined. The experience pushed me to a new level of understanding. My knowledge of the mountains, once a source of pride and comfort, now felt inadequate in the face of ancient power. I had to rely on instinct, intuition, and a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of the natural world, its power, and the dangers of manipulating its mysteries. My connection to the forest, once a source of strength and comfort, now felt like a shared burden. My growth was not simply a matter of physical or mental strength. It was a spiritual evolution, a profound shift in perspective that left me forever changed by what I had witnessed. I had confronted the darkness and emerged, not unscathed, but transformed. The mountains held their secrets close, but I had come to understand their whispers and their fury. The investigation into the conspiracy surrounding Ilara Vance's near sacrifice led us down a rabbit hole of dark secrets and ancient rituals. We discovered a network of individuals, wealthy collectors, and scrupulous researchers and shadowy figures whose motives remained shrouded in mystery, who were exploiting the mountain's ancient power for their own nefarious purposes. They sought to harness the plant's power for their own means. The hooded man was merely a pawn, a disposable agent in a much larger game. The true mastermind remained elusive, hidden in the shadows, pulling the strings from afar. The ancient oak, the nexus of power, was only one piece of a larger puzzle, a puzzle that extended far beyond the boundaries of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The pressure mounted. The conspiracy was far-reaching and deeply entrenched, making our investigation even more dangerous. We learned the true nature of the plant and the ancient ritual. The plant, far from being simply hallucinogenic, acted as a conduit to ancient beings whose power was unimaginable. The ritual they were performing was intended to release these beings into our world. The stakes were high. The consequences would be catastrophic. We traced the mastermind's movements to a remote location deep within the park, an abandoned mining site, a place steeped in local legends of dark energies and forgotten rituals. It was a place where the veil between worlds was thin, a place where the ancient power was particularly strong. This was where the mastermind planned to complete the ritual. Sheriff Brody and I prepared for the final confrontation. This wasn't a simple police operation. It was a battle against an ancient evil, a fight against a force that predated humanity itself. We gathered evidence and supplies, arming ourselves not only with weapons, but also with the knowledge we had gained during the investigation. The journey to the abandoned mining site was treacherous. The forest seemed to actively resist our passage, the terrain becoming more difficult with each step. The air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread, a chilling premonition of the horrors that awaited us. This was no longer about rescuing Alara. It was about preventing a catastrophe that could reshape the very fabric of reality. This wasn't just a matter of law enforcement. This was a fight for the survival of the world. The mastermind was powerful, ruthless, and deeply connected to the ancient forces of the mountains. The climax was imminent. The abandoned mining site was a desolate landscape of crumbling structures and overgrown vegetation. A thick fog clung to the ground, obscuring the already dilapidated buildings, creating an atmosphere of oppressive dread. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth, and something else, something ancient and malevolent. This place pulsed with a dark energy, a palpable sense of something sinister lurking just beyond the veil of reality. We found the mastermind, a gaunt, emaciated figure surrounded by strange artifacts and symbols. He was conducting the final stages of the ritual, his face lit by the eerie glow of a strange device, a device humming with an unsettling energy that seemed to draw power from the earth itself. Alara, still unconscious, lay near the device, her body serving as a conduit for the ritual. The air throbbed with a power that was both terrifying and exhilarating. The mastermind was not driven by greed or power. He was consumed by a fervent belief in his own twisted vision of reality, a vision of a world ruled by ancient forces. He saw himself as a prophet, a visionary who would usher in a new era of darkness. He was utterly convinced of his own righteousness. He believed he was righting a cosmic wrong. The final confrontation wasn't a simple gunfight. It was a battle of wills, a clash between humanity's fragile grasp on reason and the raw, untamed power of ancient entities. Sheriff Brody and I fought to disrupt the ritual, trying to sever the connection between the device Alara and the ancient forces the mastermind sought to unleash. The mastermind retaliated, unleashing a wave of dark energy that threatened to overwhelm us. The ground trembled, the air crackled, and the very fabric of reality seemed to tear at the seams. We fought back, using our knowledge of the ritual and the ancient energies of the mountains to counter his dark magic. We fought not only to stop the ritual, but also to save Alara and the world from unimaginable consequences. The climax was brutal and desperate, a chaotic ballet of energy and violence. We used everything at our disposal, our weapons, our knowledge, our sheer determination, to prevent the ritual's completion. We were forced to confront the terrifying power of the ancient beings that defied human comprehension and reason. In a desperate move, Brody used a specialized device developed to disrupt certain types of anomalous energy to overload the ritual device. The result was catastrophic. A blinding flash of light engulfed the area. A deafening roar shattered the silence. The earth trembled violently. When the light subsided, the mining site was in ruins and the mastermind was gone, his plan thwarted, his vision destroyed. Alara stirred, weak but alive. The ancient evil had been contained. The aftermath of the climax was a scene of devastation. The abandoned mining site lay in ruins, a testament to the raw power unleashed during the confrontation. The air hung heavy with the lingering scent of ozone and something else, something ancient and unsettling. The very earth seemed scarred, bearing witness to the battle between humanity and the forces beyond comprehension. Alara Vance, though shaken and weak, was alive. The ritual had been disrupted, the ancient entities contained. She had no memory of the events, of the ritual itself or her role in it. The experience, however, had left its mark, and she would need time to recover from the trauma. Sheriff Brody, though injured, was alive, his resilience a testament to his strength and dedication. His pragmatism and unwavering support during the ordeal had proved invaluable in confronting the darkness. His experience would forever change his perspective. The investigation continued, revealing a vast network of individuals involved in the conspiracy. Arrests were made, but the full extent of the conspiracy remained elusive, the shadowy figures behind it still largely unknown. The ancient power they sought remained elusive, hidden deeper than before. The world had narrowly averted a catastrophe, but the threat remained. My own transformation was profound and lasting. The encounter with the ancient entities had challenged my understanding of the world, forcing me to confront the limits of human knowledge and reason. My connection to the mountains deepened, but it was now a more complex and nuanced relationship, one that blended the beauty of nature with the awareness of the hidden darkness that lay dormant beneath the surface. The respect I carried for the forest grew significantly, a testament to its power and hidden depths. The experience served as a harsh reminder of the importance of protecting the natural world, of respecting its ancient secrets and the delicate balance of power that governed its existence. Some secrets, it became clear, were best left undisturbed. The mountains, still beautiful and serene, now held a new significance, their beauty tempered by the knowledge of the darkness they concealed. The world had been saved, but at a great cost. Years later, I still patrol the trails of the Great Smoky Mountains. The memory of that night, the fog, the ruins, Ilara's vacant eyes, lingers, a constant reminder of the fragility of our world and the power of ancient forces. I often find myself gazing at the ancient oak, now strangely peaceful, sensing the lingering echoes of the dark energy that once pulsed within it. The mountains hold their secrets close, and some, I now understand, are best left undisturbed. The scars of that night, though healed, still remain. This is my story, a chilling encounter with the hidden darkness of the Great Smoky Mountains. It's a tale of ancient evils, hidden conspiracies, and the fight to protect our world from forces beyond our understanding. What are your thoughts? What would you have done differently? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more chilling tales from the heart of the wilderness. Click the link below to watch my next video, where I explore the legends and mysteries surrounding the abandoned mining site. You won't want to miss it. Click now.